Hi, this is Pastor Todd. Thanks so much for checking out this video about the Luther 500 Festival in October of 2017. I'm very excited that you have some interest in this and hope that you'll be able to join us for this incredible faith-building experience, learning opportunity. Really excited for it. What my goal is for the time that you'll be listening to this is to give you as much information as we have. There's some pieces of information that just because the trip is so far out, we aren't able to answer yet. Things about flight itineraries and stuff like that. But as much information as we can, we want to give you, and then talk about the process for signing up and give you all the information that hopefully you need for just the decisions you need to make now. So again, thanks for being here and being a part of this this event. Couple things you need to know about the Luther 500 Festival. It is the celebration of the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, which will take place in October of 2017. In Germany, they'll actually be doing stuff all during the year to celebrate that event, but the people that we work with are doing 3 of these festivals, one in May, one in June, and one in October. We are choosing to do the October event. It's the closest to the dates of the actual Reformation, and hopefully will be just an amazing experience. Much of the life of Martin Luther was centered around the community of Wittenberg, and that is where we will be centered as well during our trip. Many of the groups that go to Germany during the course of the year go to Berlin or Frankfurt or Erfurt or places like that, and then day trip to Wittenberg and other sites, but we are going to actually embed ourselves at Wittenberg, use that as our home base, and then do day trips from there. It's going to be great. The festival is a combination of opportunities to sightsee, vacation kinds of things, plus historical and theological learning, cultural immersion, and hopefully lots of fun. And we anticipate that there'll probably be in the ballpark of about 150 people participating during those October dates when we are there. So our church will be one of many churches that are participating in the Luther 500 Festival that week. This is where Wittenberg is located. You can see it right there in the eastern side of Germany. Berlin, where we'd fly into, is actually somewhere up in this vicinity, and it's about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive from Berlin down to Wittenberg when we arrive. The town of Wittenberg itself is a large community, not a super large city, but it's fairly sprawled out. But this is the city center, and this is where almost all the historical district and where most of the stuff that we'll be doing will be centered. Here, where you see the number 1, is the Castle Church, where Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the wall. This is the Conference Center, where you'll hear more about that in a bit. Number 3 here is the Luther Garden. 4 is the Chronic House, which is a historical site in the center of Wittenberg. This is the town square and the old town hall, right in the middle of that. A beautiful, giant building in the middle of this courtyard. It's just magnificent. This is the city church, the town church, actually, where Luther loved to preach the most, and that was the church that he attended. This is the University, Wittenberg, where Luther taught. This is the Melanchthon House. We'll talk more about him later on. And then number 11 here, this is what's called the Luther House, and it's where Luther lived, and then where he had students live after he kind of established himself and was doing teaching there as well. But most of the stuff that we'll be doing will be in this part of town, between the number 1 and the number 6, the 2 churches. And just to get a sense of perspective, walking from 6 to the 1, from the town church to the university church, is probably a 6 to 8, maybe a 10-block walk at the most. But it's not a very long walk. You can do that fairly quickly. So that's where we'll spend much of our time when we're in Germany, is in the town of Wittenberg. What I want to do is share some pictures. I was there in October, doing a learning trip with a group of 95 pastors. We had an opportunity to go there and do some study and see the things that we'll be bringing groups to see as well. So we have an opportunity to share with you accurately kind of what the trip and the experience will be like. So I'm just going to share a few pictures and try to not make it sound just like, here's Todd's vacation or travelogue or whatever, but just to share some other things that we'll get to see. This is the interior of the city church in Wittenberg. Beautiful, spacious, gorgeous, Gothic type style church. It's just an amazing place to see. And we'll do evening prayer or morning prayer in this facility every day that we are in Wittenberg. It's great. This is the street that runs from the city church towards the university church. We'll walk the street every day. There's sidewalk cafes and shops and things like that. This is the bell tower of the university church. It's beautiful, and actually I have a close-up of that right here. I was just amazed by the architecture, really all throughout Wittenberg, but the university church especially was beautiful. So it's just a wonderful facility. This is the group I was with, standing outside the university church. They use these little headphones, and the person who's teaching or speaking has a little microphone, so we can all hear what's going on. We can hear clearly what he's saying. We don't have to be listening for him to shout to us. The whole town of Wittenberg, not the whole town, but many of especially the historical sites, are under renovation right now as they prepare for the giant festivals in 2017. That's why you see this construction fence standing behind the group. But that'll all be done and complete by the time 2017 rolls around. We're excited then to see it in its full finished glory. It's beautiful architecture all through the city of Wittenberg. These are the doors. These are actually the doors where Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses up, and it's just right there. It's just amazing. You can walk right up to them. Now, originally they were wooden doors. These are kind of bronze or some kind of metal doors with the 95 Theses actually kind of embedded, embossed into the doors, so you can see them and read them right there. But so they're not the original doors, but they're still pretty cool. This is Christian Udapel. He is the person leading and facilitating most of the tour work on the trip. He's a Lutheran pastor, worked in a church in Germany, and then also worked for the denomination as kind of the person who led the denomination's youth ministry nationally. But then eventually left that. He had worked as a tour guide and a bus driver through school, and he always had this love of travel. So he started his own company called Terralu Travel, and he produces now almost exclusively these Lutheran Germany tours. A lot of it right now centered around the Reformation festival and the 500th anniversary, but also helps put together, choir tour groups that go to Germany to sing from churches in the States and things like that. He's a great guy, does a great job. We had a fantastic experience with him. He's become a friend of mine over time, and looking forward to working with him for our group as well. These are the towers, the bell towers of the city church in Wittenberg. That's the one where Luther loved to preach the most. That was that first picture in the interior of the church. This is the bell towers on top of that church building. And this is the inside of the university's church. Now, like I said, it was under renovation. We actually weren't even supposed to really have access to it, but Christian was able to talk them into letting us go in there to do our evening prayers. Rachel Kurtz is leading us from the guitar in the front. You can see there's renovation going on. They didn't even have electricity, so the lights aren't on. They had to turn on construction lights for us, which is why you see the shadows and the lighting is kind of stark. But excuse me, you'll also see a lot of scaffolding and things like that, and there's no pews. It's been replaced with folding chairs and actually people sitting on boxes in the back here. It's a beautiful facility, though. I can't wait to see it when it is clean, when it is complete. It's going to be an amazing place. So we gathered there for evening prayer while I was there in October. This is the altar in the front of the cathedral where we gathered for evening prayer. It's beautiful. And this is actually Luther's grave, and they have it covered because of the renovation with that cloth and duct tape. It's kind of funny to see it there. And you can see it's underneath actually where some of the scaffolding is, but of course in 2017 this will be open and it'll be there, and it's a big memorial piece. I'm actually really curious to see what it looks like underneath the tarp. But I'm sure it's as beautiful as the rest of the church. But I just thought that was kind of interesting and kind of fun that it's just sitting there wrapped in tarp and duct tape. So this is in Leipzig, which would be one of our side trips. When we were there, this is the Cathedral of St. Thomas, where Bach was the choir master and organist. It's a beautiful, giant cathedral-like church. This is the front of the church, the chancel area. This is the baptismal font. The altar is around the back side. And this is Bach's grave, right in the floor of the chancel. They buried him there in the middle of the church. And actually, there's a rope, so I can't go up here onto the steps. So I'm standing about as close as I can go. But people would stand here and then throw flowers onto the grave. It's kind of neat. And then if I turn around 180 degrees and look behind me, this is what the rest of the church looks like, which is really neat architecture. And that's the organ, I believe, that Bach played when he was music master at the Church of St. Thomas there. So beautiful, beautiful facility. We'll have an opportunity to see that and tour while we are there. Also a place that Luther preached when he was in Leipzig as well. So it's kind of a historic site for Luther as well. This is in Eisleben, a different town. Pieces of this baptismal font were from the original font that Martin Luther was baptized in. It's not a very large church, but it's beautiful. It's been renovated not too terribly long ago, which is tricky in Germany when things are so historical. They have to be very careful to maintain the integrity of the original design, but they did a magnificent job at the Church of St. Andrew here, where this is. There's another church in town, the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, where Luther gave his last sermons. Interestingly, in Eisleben, Luther was born, and in Eisleben, Luther died. However, Luther never lived there. But that's where his baptism was. Again, his last sermons. So it's kind of an important historical site as well. That's a statue of Luther standing in front of the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul. We'll have a chance to tour that as well. This is back at the Church of St. Andrew, where Luther was baptized. And these are two musicians. They're a duo. They call themselves Tangled Blue. They're a married couple, and they were with us as well, leading music. They're amazing musicians, and again, helped lead evening prayer. It's possible that they would be with us in October of 2017. We're not sure who the musicians will be yet on the trip, but it was great to have them with us. And this is Pastor Scott Moore, who had been the pastor at this Church of St. Andrew. He's an American ELCA pastor that was there on an exchange program for 6 years and then stayed. He and his wife are both in PhD programs in Germany, and they're studying. We actually might bring Scott over to the United States to be with us here at Trinity in the spring of 2017 as we prepare and as we celebrate the Reformation ourselves. At Trinity. He might come over and do a week of teaching, maybe preach a sermon and do some teaching during the course of the year as well. We're excited about that possibility and are just thinking about the details for what that might look like. And that, of course, would be great for our folks going to Germany, because they'd have a chance to meet him and hear and learn and then actually see him again when we're in Germany. And he'd probably spend some time with our group helping with tours and things like that. He's just a great guy and very, very smart Reformation scholar. We're excited for that possibility. There'll be time during the trip as well to hang out. This is after we did some of this touring in Eisleben. We found a Bierstube and sat and ate and drank and talked and had good fellowship. I would suspect the same thing would happen with our group when we are there in 2017. This is the castle at Wartburg. It's an amazing place where Luther spent a significant amount of time after he was kind of in exile and in hiding. He went to the castle at Wartburg, where he spent time. This is the Great Hall in the castle. Amazing, beautiful place. And this is actually Luther's study at the Wartburg Castle, where he translated the New Testament from Latin into German, actually sitting at this desk in a period of just 6 weeks. It's a pretty amazing thing to be in this space where he sat and the desk where he worked and to see where all these things happened. It's just really cool. This is the monastery where Luther studied in Erfurt, and this is the actual altar where he first served communion, where he celebrated the sacrament of Holy Communion for the first time. And it's not a replica nor a duplicate. It is the actual altar, which is just amazing. And to see and be a part of, and actually to touch and be a part of that history. It's incredible. The schedule for the festival looks a little bit like this. We would fly in on Sunday the 1st. We'd probably actually leave in the afternoon and arrive early morning in Berlin. We'd gather up with other folks from the Luther500 Festival at the airport, probably hop on a bus and go to Wittenberg, where we'd have a chance then to kind of rest and recover a little bit. There would be a welcome and an orientation, a dinner that night, a welcome dinner, and a little bit of a program, and then a chance for evening prayer. The next day in Wittenberg, we'd get up, we'd have breakfast, and then morning prayer. And then during the day, there would be different opportunities to tour some of the sites in Wittenberg, these important historical sites, to do interest sessions, learn about different things about the Reformation or about Germany or whatever it would be. And then evening program, and then evening prayer. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be tour days. There's 3 days and there's 3 tours. We do together as a group all 3 of these tours, but the different church groups or different folks would likely do them in kind of different orders. So I don't know which tour we do on which day, but they would include a trip to Eisleben, where the Church of St. Andrew and the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul were, Wartburg Castle in Erfurt, and then Leipzig and Torgau. Leipzig, again, where the Church of St. Thomas, where Bach is buried, and then Torgau, a town that I didn't get to when I was there in October, but that's the place that Catherine Luther, von Bora Luther, died and is buried. They were not buried together, interestingly enough. She's buried in Torgau. So those 3 days would be given up for those tours. And then we have another day in Wittenberg. Again, more opportunities to look around and see things and just kind of move at our own pace. Evening prayer, and then Sunday morning prayer, a little more chance to poke around, and then we'd head to Berlin and either depart, or sometimes, depending on the flight schedule, we might need to spend the night in Berlin and then depart Monday morning the 9th. We don't know yet. It's too far out. The flight schedules aren't published, so we're not sure what that schedule would look like. So we'd either get home on the 8th or on the 9th, just depending on the schedule at this point. Information about costs, people are always interested in that. I'll try to make this as simple as possible. It's a little complicated, and everything starts off in euros, because the company that we're working with is in Germany. So the registration cost for the trip is 490 euro, which includes 2 meals every day, all the exhibit and museum admissions, the day trips, the bus trips to the places that we're going, Erfurt and Castle at Wartburg and such, admissions there, the tour guides, the program leaders. Also includes medical insurance. So if something were to happen medically while we're in Germany, we have coverage there and can make sure people are tended to well. So that's 490 euros, which translates to about $530 today. Again, the exchange rate varies, so it could be different. Housing, there's 2 different options. One is to stay in a hotel. The other is to stay at a conference center, which is basically a youth hostel, although it's very nice, very clean, very well kept. The single room in a hotel for 1 person is 1,020 euro, and for 2 people, it's 660 per person. So, and then the conference center, basically 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 people in a room. That's about the same price, roughly 390 euro per person. At 7 people, there's a small 4 euro break, but it's not a big deal. So roughly 390 per person is what we're talking about for registration and for housing. Now, quick look at the housing again, just to review. Here is where the conference center is. It's right next to the university church. Here is the town church and the 2 hotels that they have kind of booked. One is they're both kind of on either side of this double set of parallel streets, so not far. They're all kind of in close proximity of where things are. From the hotel, it's a little farther distance. I suspect a lot of the activities for the festival will be centered here at the conference center, but again, this is not a long walk. And we're going to let people choose where they're going to want to stay. Our group can split and stay in the 2 different places. That's fine. This is a photograph of the Luther Hotel in Wittenberg. This is where our group stayed while we were there. It was very nice. It's considered a 3-star hotel. The rooms in Germany, a little different than the rooms in the States. They're very simple. They're kind of austere. And the rule is that for every person that stays in a room, there must be a bed. So in the States, if you have 4 people and you put them in 2 double beds and just kind of double up and bunk up, that's how you do it. But in Germany, that's actually illegal. You have to have 1 bed for every person, which complicates things a bit. So this is actually considered a double room. And you can see they took 2 single beds and kind of pushed them together to make a double bed. That's how they do it. And again, it's a simple room, not very large, but again, we're not there very much. So it's basically just becomes a place to sleep. This is the lobby of the hotel in Wittenberg. I just took that picture because I love that statue of Luther. It's kind of interesting art, I think. And then this is a picture of the sleeping rooms in the conference center next to the university church. Again, very simple, very plain. They're bunk beds. They're comfortable. They're very clean. They're very well kept. The nice thing about this youth hostel, whereas a lot of youth hostels in Europe, there's bedrooms, but then they all share a common bathroom. At this place, every bedroom has its own bathroom and shower connected directly to it. So that's kind of convenient. It's very nice. It's actually kind of luxurious for a youth hostel in Europe. And this is the dining area, so kind of cafeteria style again. been told the food is good, and it's a very pleasant place to be. So a couple scenarios: a couple staying at the hotel, the registration for 2 people at $490 would be $980. Housing comes out to basically $1,320 for the 2 of them. You add those 2 things together, and it comes to 2,300 euros, which translates to roughly $2,600 per couple. Plus air, so roughly $1,300 per person plus air ticket. 2 couples. Suppose you got 2 couples that are friends, and they say, you know what, we're willing to share one of the bunk rooms at the conference center. Look, for a couple, the registration is again 2 of them, $980, and quad occupancy in the room is $1,560, which comes out to roughly $780 per couple. You take that and add it to the $980. And you get $1,760 per couple. That converts to about $2,006 US plus air. It's roughly $1,000 per person plus airfare. Now, if a single person finds 2 friends and they want to share a triple at the conference center, registration, you're talking about 490 euros again for that one person. Your housing divides out to $390 per person, and it makes your totals $880, which is $1,003 plus air. Now, these are all based on the exchange rate on April 8th. When I looked it up, it could fluctuate and be different by the time we book, but that's in the ballpark of what we're talking about. Just wanted to give some examples of what this might be like in terms of actual cost. One question people had is if it's cheaper to stay at the conference center, could you put 2 people in a triple? I don't know the answer to that. I sent an email a couple of days ago off to the organizers to ask. I have not heard back yet. So just wanted to let you know we'll find that out, and we'll post that information as soon as we find out about it. To register for the trip, you go online and you can go to tlcowatana.org/Germany. There you can fill out the registration form and pay your deposit online with a credit card, or just fill out the form and then bring in a check for the deposit. Another option is to go to the same page, and there's a link there to download a PDF with the registration form on it if you'd rather just fill it out by hand, and turn that into the church office here with a check for $250. That is the amount of the deposit. It's a non-refundable deposit. It's $250. Then you pick up the third option is pick up a paper registration form that we have at Trinity. It's basically the same as the downloadable form, but we have those here at church printed off, and you can turn that in with your deposit. We're asking people to register. Our deadline is by May 10th of 2016. Again, May 10th of 2016. Now, that's the date. On the 11th, we're going to go ahead and register our group at that point and get ourselves into the system and registered. We can't we may be able to add people after May 10th, but we're not able to guarantee that. But if space is available, we could potentially add more people into the trip if other folks hear about it or are interested. I suspect actually after we have Pastor Scott Moore here next spring, we might have more people that are interested in going and participating in the trip. So we'll see how that all plays out. But $250 plus the registration by May 10th would be great. Any questions that you have at all about the Luther500 Festival, I invite you to contact me. My email address is on this page, toddb@tlcowatana.org, or you can call me at the church office, which is area code 507-451-4520. Again, 507-451-4520, and I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I possibly can. The other thing I want to make you aware of is all the information that we have on the Trinity website about the trip. Again, if you go to tlcowatana.org/Germany, you can find this page. This is actually where you're seeing the video, so you're probably already on this page. There's information. Here is the actual registration form and the opportunity to pay the deposit as well. Right down here in the enter credit card method. You can also, we have other pages. We have a page called What is Luther500? Just a little more information about the purpose behind the trip and the history and the story behind the trip, what it is and what it's for and why we're celebrating this. There's a page called Where Is It? And it talks more about some of the different sites and places that we'll see. Wittenberg and Eisleben and Wartburg and Eisenach and Torgau and all those places that we'll go and visit while we are there. There is a tentative itinerary that has a little more detail in it than what I went through, but for the most part, most of the information I covered is on here as well, so you can find out more about the schedule. And then there's another page that again lists the cost information as well. It also has a link on this page to a dollar converter in Google. You can click on this and you can enter the amount of the euro and find out what it costs today to do these things. And then there's a last page on who leads Luther 500, and that's just more information on both the musicians, George and Michael, a band called Lost and Found, who first conceived of this idea and have been leading these trips. They're good friends and brilliant people. And then also the Tara Lou and Christian Udapel, who I showed you that picture of, and a little bit more information on him, so you kind of know who's bringing our group to Germany for this trip. Again, any other questions, please feel free to give me a call directly, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Take care. Thanks for your interest and your time, and God bless.